Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's really how to be a successful small business owner, but more importantly, how to be that successful small business owner without it completely and totally consuming your life. So please join me in welcoming today's guest, Paul Maskill, to our program today. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Deb. Excited to be here.
You know, we really are going to have so much fun today because what we'll be talking about is various tips, techniques, all of these various things that are kind of bugaboos to small business owners. And when I talk with other small business owners, it's things that I hear them complain about a lot. You know, chiefly no time, no help, eating up my life, and most importantly, this isn't fun anymore. You know, and so that's what's going to be so much fun talking to you today.
I am looking forward to it, Deb.
Great. Well, let me tell people just a little bit about you. So Paul Maskill started his first business in 2011. He was soon working 60 to 80 hours a week with a business that couldn't survive without him, right? Sound familiar, everybody? So Paul started systematizing everything while empowering a team to run the business better than he could. Before he knew it, his revenue doubled to almost $500,000, while the number of hours he worked dropped below 40. Paul then sold his business for 3 times a net profit. He's now back into business ownership with 2 local businesses, while also helping ambitious business owners automate their business so they can leverage their business to build a life that they love. So again, Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Deb. Nice intro.
I know. Don't you love it? It's just so much fun. You know, it's always funny when people have to write their own intros. It's a struggle. You know, how do we put what we do into terms that don't sound like we're saying, I'm the next, you know, Bill Gates type of person. But everything that I said about you is true, you know, based on my research, looking on your website, all those various things. Let's go back a bit. Talk to us about how this got started for you. How did you decide that this was your passion in life?
Yeah, so I guess probably like many people, I followed what everyone told me to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in Michigan and everyone said, go, you know, you got to go to school. Don't just go do something. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and then, you know, graduate from college, go climb the corporate ladder for 40 or 50 years, and then you can retire and enjoy life. So I was like, that doesn't really make sense, but everyone's telling me to do it, and that's what everyone says you should do.
Our parents did. That's what their friends are doing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my parents said, don't be like us. Go to college and get a degree. So I said, okay. So anyway, I got a finance degree. I love numbers, love math, all that good stuff. And then I moved to Chicago. So as we were talking before the show, I lived in Chicago. Beautiful place from like May to October. We're recording this in January. I would not want to be in Chicago right now. But that's where everybody in the Midwest went to work in finance. So I went there. Got a cubicle job in 2007. So just before the whole thing crashed. So I think that was a blessing in disguise because it showed me that I didn't want to do this my entire life.
Finance in 2008 was not a good place to be.
Not the best place to be. So what I realized was there's all these people here in our office, in our bank, on my floor that had poured like 10, 20, 30 years into this company. And then like that, with like a flip of a switch, they all lost their jobs and their life was so leveraged. It was so based on this one job that it, to me, I started really questioning, like, this doesn't make sense. So these people can't go get other jobs. They're basically owning their own business with one client and that client just fired them. So I was like, what do I have to lose if I quit this job and go do my own thing? So basically that's what I did, because I saw these people just struggling.
Mhm.
They had their mortgage, they had their kids, they had their car payment. They hated their job to begin with, but they had to do it. And I never wanted to be in that position.
Right.
So what I realized was the worst case scenario wasn't as bad as people said it
Mhm.
was. Like, oh my gosh, you're going to quit your job and start a business. Like, yeah, because if it doesn't work, I can always go get another job. So
Right.
anyway, that's how the journey
Mhm.
started. I wanted to, quote unquote, be my own boss.
Mhm.
I didn't want to have my future in the hands of somebody else that I
Mhm.
couldn't control. And I didn't want to do something I hated every day for 40 years
Mhm.
to then enjoy life when I'm 60, 70 years old.
Mhm.
Knock on wood, at that time, who knows what
Right.
the retirement age will be.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how the whole journey started. And then I haven't really looked back since 2011, as you mentioned.
Mhm. And I think that's how many small business owners start. They either did it by choice or, oops, I've lost my job. Now what the heck am I going to do? Um, and so it is, but for many people, I mean, there are some people who love working for corporations for whatever reason. The stability, I've worked with people who not knowing, like a lot of small business owners, it's like, ooh, are we going to be able to pay this bill tomorrow? Or where's this new client coming from? They just can't handle that. They want to know what's coming tomorrow, all those various things. And so it's great that there are places that the people like that can go. But for people like you and I who are thinking, ew, I don't want to work for the man forever. We start our own business. For many of us, it's something that is a passion, or we think, oh, that sounds like fun. And then we get into it and it's a whole lot harder than we thought. Because we might have had friends who were doing it, but maybe not. I mean, when we're working in corporations, you tend to be friends with people there. And so you don't understand that, you really, especially when you're starting out and it's just you are doing 60, 80 hours a week. It is 24/7. All these various things. And then pretty soon that thing that you loved to do is the grind. You're thinking, oh God, I have to go to another networking event, or that's that client on the phone. Well, we'll just ignore it today. All those various things. And so what you work with people on is how to get, take a lot of those tasks and things that suck up our time and and automate them, pass them off to somebody else, all these various things, so that then we can get back to doing what we love.
Yeah, I mean that's really it. So if you look at
Mhm.
most small businesses, they were started, but almost all of them are service based, because it's
Mhm.
really
Right.
easy to start a service
Mhm.
based. You don't need to go
Mhm.
get a building. Usually, you don't need to go buy a bunch of inventory. You don't need a
Mhm.
bunch of overhead. So that's basically what I did. So I started a
Mhm.
service based business. We were running after school sports programs for elementary kids. I
Oh.
loved it. I loved
Mhm.
golf. I loved tennis. I loved
Mhm.
kids. So to me, it didn't feel like work. And then like
Mhm.
it just kept piling up. I kept doing more
Mhm.
and more, which I didn't not like at all. I loved it. Like I rather go hang out with kids and run a business
Mhm.
for 60 to 80 hours a week than sit in a cubicle for
Right.
40. Um, but what I really realized was that's not why I left my job to go
Right.
start a business anyway.
Mhm.
I didn't eventually want to trade one job for another job.
Mhm.
And, my wife wasn't really happy with me at the time.
Mhm.
We're still happily married here in Raleigh, North Carolina for 7 years. We got a daughter who's 3. It's great. Life is good. But back then it wasn't, all
Mhm.
sunshine and rainbows, because I left my job. She was like, you got to leave your job.
Mhm.
It's driving you crazy. Start
Right.
your own business. I'll support you.
Mhm.
And then at first it's like, okay, we're all excited to be a business owner. Like,
Mhm.
this is great. I'm going to start calling people. Everyone's going to want to buy what I'm selling.
Mhm.
And then you go to these networking events, you go to the
Right.
chamber, you feel kind of
Mhm.
slimy. You got to take a shower after that because you got all these business cards.
Mhm.
And then I was like, this isn't working. Why isn't anyone saying yes? This doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So I was at that point where I was like, maybe I'll just go back and get another
Mhm.
job. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And
Right.
then we started to have success. And then, it kind of started to snowball. And like you said, I was working 60 to
Mhm.
80 hours a week, uh, which I was fine with until I realized I couldn't grow anymore. My business couldn't
Mhm.
grow anymore because I was the one in the way. Like I
Right.
was the big rock in the
Mhm.
middle of the road that I needed to move out of the way
Mhm.
so I could keep going where I want to go. So the biggest question, kind of bringing back to the family, is what would have happened at that point if I got hit by a bus. I was doing everything. I was the finance guy, the marketing guy, the advertising guy, the sales, the operations. If I
Your
got hit by a
business would have
bus,
stopped.
my business would have stopped within probably a week.
Mhm.
And then my wife would have been really upset at me.
Mhm.
My clients would not be happy.
Mhm.
And the employees that I did have out delivering the service, they would not have been happy either. So that was really kind of the transitional point for me of I've got to quote unquote take the risk
Mhm.
to do something about this because this is not sustainable. And I
Mhm.
think that's where most business owners get stuck. If you survey most small business owners, their business probably couldn't survive more than a week without them.
Right. And it's funny, I actually had that forced on me, where I got ill, and I got very seriously ill very quickly. As in, I was not even able to give my husband the password to get into my computer. And so clients, all these various things. Now, fortunately, I had clients who understood, and all of these various things, but it, it is something that as we're planning our business, we need to plan on those things. And it's funny, you mentioned hit by a bus. I work on the hit by a bus philosophy, with whatever it is. Could someone pick up where I was and go forward? Even if it's just to contact people to say, out of touch for a while. But what you really want is for them to say, okay, Deb's, kind of laid up for a little bit. I'm now going to work on this project for you, or whatever it is. And so as a business owner, that really should be one of the things that we think about. I've had guests on before who we have talked about the end stages of your business. And you've done this, you have sold your business. And so, we talk about that, what is your ultimate goal, all of those things, but we've never really talked about what happens in that mid part if, heaven forbid, something goes wrong, or worse, what if you want to take a vacation? I mean, how many of us, show of hands out there, folks, small business owners, even when we're on vacation, this is with us. We're still checking email. We're still checking in every day, even if we've got employees, consultants, all of those. We just can't untie those apron strings, even for a long weekend, let alone, maybe you want to take a cruise and be gone for a while. And a big part of that really comes back to, as we were saying, automating a lot of the work. And it's people that, and let's be honest, there's free things that you can use to automate. There's services that charge, but what are a lot of the things that people never even really stop to think about? Oh my gosh, this could be, if not totally automated, at least simplified.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. So, what I tell a lot of people is when something's automated, it just means it happens automatically. So that you could just give it to somebody else to do it. And I was in the same position. I was so scared to delegate. Nobody can do it as well as I can.
Right.
It's my baby.
Oh yeah, no,
and I can't trust
as good as me.
and then I remembered back when I quit my job, the worst case scenario when I quit my job, like I said, was, well, if it doesn't work, I can go get another job. And this was the same thing. If I delegate something or I automate something or give it to technology and it doesn't work, well, it's just going to come back to me anyway. And it's already with me. So I might as well throw it out there and see if it goes away for good, more or less. But, to really answer the question, I look at everything and I tell everyone, just go to Google. If you think there should be a piece of technology that can do this, there probably is.
Right.
And it's probably really cheap and or it's free and you can get it off the shelf. It's not custom built. It's not 20 years ago and it's like, man, I really wish I could send an email automatically. I wonder how much that's going to cost. So that could be something as simple, that could maybe be the most simple thing that anybody out there listening could automate is sending emails. So if I realized I was answering the same question every single time in my business. They would call, where does Johnny have to meet? Who's going to pick him up? All the same questions, the frequently asked questions over and over and over. And then I realized, why don't I send out an email before they ask the question? So I'm answering the question before they ask it. So then it not only builds trust with them, they're like, oh, this is perfect. But it also frees up my time because I don't have to keep answering the phone or responding to emails. So there's a million things out there that you could automate, but for me, that was one of them where it's not only improving the customer experience, it's also improving your life because you realize if you have to answer the same question more than once, how about you answer it before
Yeah.
people
There
actually
are
ask it.
no totally unique questions.
Right.
Get over it, folks. There's not.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just one,
Hmm.
but there is automation
Hmm.
for, literally everything. And it, like I said, it might not even be something that technology is doing. You
Hmm.
might just be documenting a standard operating
Hmm.
procedure that I'm going to now give to Deb.
Right.
Deb, here's how you do this.
Hmm.
Deb watches the video. She
Hmm.
might get stuck, but she can pause, rewind, fast forward.
Hmm.
And now she owns that process.
Hmm.
So, you know, that's where I would just start to look and question everything of, if there's something that you don't want to do more than once ever again,
Hmm.
figure out if there's a technology or a human that could do that for you.
Right. And it's as you said, I'm one of those people that, but nobody can do it like I do it. And that's true, but it doesn't mean that somebody doing it is going to do it wrong. They're just going to do it different. And, and that was always one of the hardest things. I have a producer for this program, absolutely fabulous person. Now I'd had some people before that just didn't quite work out. And the reason they didn't work out was my fault. I didn't give them enough information. I didn't, it was, sink or swim type of thing. And finally this time I thought, okay, let's lay it down. What are the steps that I go through? And then I told her, figure out what makes it work for you. Do I still kind of have those, oh my God, has she contacted, I still have those moments, even though we're going on our third year of working together. Sorry, there's something in my eye. Um, but I know that she's going to take care of it. And so even though I might have that trepidation, I trust that she will do it. I mean, it's just, if I don't trust her to do it, then she shouldn't be doing anything. I mean, that's the whole thing. And so, but to release that was one of the hardest things to do, and say, you go and you do. And now it's funny because, like one of the things she does is she does these social media posts for the program. And I don't review it. I see them, because they go across on my feed. But, and, every once in a while I might think, oh, I might have worded that a little bit different. But, and there are people who said, you don't review it. You don't write it and have her send it. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to write it, I'll just send it out. But yeah, they're just amazed that I have her do that. And why wouldn't I? I trust that she is going to get it done right, and probably better than me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. And I mean, really, to follow up on that last point, it's because she only has that one thing to do. Deb's got 1,000 things going in her mind. So then she's like half posting
Right.
the social media post, and then the phone rings, and then the email dings.
Mm-hmm,
Yep. And then you're like, wait, what? So, I think and like you said before, if they do something quote unquote wrong, it's not because they didn't maliciously do it
right.
the way you didn't
Mm-hmm.
want them to do it. You, like you said, you already trust that person. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't do it the way you wanted them to do it because you didn't exactly tell them that.
Right.
And what I learned from my corporate days is I always wanted to know why. Like they'll say, do it this way. And I would always say, well, why do we do it that way? I don't know, because someone told me to. Well, if that's
Right.
your answer,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to work. So if you can explain the why
Mm-hmm.
behind the task, even if people ask me today, why do I do what I do?
Mm-hmm.
Because I realized that there's a lot of people going through this, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to share that with them. And it was the same reason as a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I have a gift that I should pass on to other people so
Mm-hmm.
we can go impact more people. Deb, you wouldn't be able to impact as many people if you were doing everything. You'd be so worried about editing this and doing the social media, but you can just focus on this 1 hour because you're not worried about, oh man, am I going to get this edited by Thursday and get the social media post out?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're all over the place. So, really bringing it back to the why, and that is so important. And most people don't get it. They never get there because they feel whatever they know is common sense. It's like, why? I don't need to tell them that. That's their job. They can figure it out. It's like, well, what's, the third episode I ever read of my podcast, Tom Schwab, who runs Interview Valet, said, he had a quote that still sticks with me, and I think everybody should take it, is what's normal to you is amazing to others. Because we can do all this work in our sleep, but the problem is nobody else knows how to do it. It's not that it's rocket science. It's just we assume everything.
Right.
And it's like, hey, Deb, go figure this out. Wait, you didn't know how to do that? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. And we forget that it's at one point, we didn't know how to do it either. None of this knowledge just was walked into our head. We had to figure out how to do it too. And we need to remember it was trial and error. It wasn't perfect the first time we tried it either. And so we shouldn't expect someone who is working with us, working for us to do it perfect the first time either.
Yeah. And really going back to your first point, we kind of just created it. It wasn't like we were following, this is how
Right.
you do X, Y, and Z. We just thought this is the best way I know how. But
Right.
then you've probably improved it a bunch of
hmm
times.
hmm
And then when you delegate it, they'll probably even improve it more
hmm
because they're looking at it through a different
Right.
lens. So,
Right.
so yeah, I think at the end of the day, this isn't blood and guts. This isn't,
Mm-mm.
we're not first
hmm
responders. If it doesn't work
hmm
or they don't do it the way you want them to, that's the best time to learn. That's how we learn.
Right.
Like, oh,
Right.
that was a huge failure. Well,
hmm
let's do something different
Right.
and not do that again. So
hmm
putting the systems and processes in place, once something doesn't
hmm
go the way you want it to, that's how you're always going to
hmm
improve. And that's how your employers are going to improve too.
Right. And of course, the first big pushback that small business owners do is, but it costs money. I'm on a limited budget. It costs money to hire an employee, an assistant, a virtual assistant, whatever. Well, yeah, duh. I mean, and let's be honest, you want to be paying somebody. This is not, hey, can you help me out for free? Because you get what you paid for. Even if it's a spouse, even if it's your best buddy, you probably should be paying for it. And let's not be cheap either. This is not, let's see how cheap we can get it. There are ways to save money. But and so what I tell people is, well, yes, it is going to cost you money, but it's freeing you up to make more money. And that's and that light bulb kind of slowly goes on for some people, and for some they just and maybe it's that they haven't reached that stage yet. They're not going to turn away the control, all those various things. But yeah, it is going to cost you money. I hate to break it to you folks, but it's going to cost you some money.
It is going to, and if money is going to leave your bank account, like you
hmm
said,
Right.
but is it a cost or is it an investment? And
hmm
that's where most businesses are like, why would I pay
Right.
someone $15 to do
hmm
that when I can do it myself?
hmm
Because you could probably take that same amount of time and go
hmm
make $30 or
Right.
50 or
hmm
100.
hmm
So, really, I don't know. I haven't met a business owner yet that says, I can't wait to start. I was so excited to start my own business
hmm
because I wanted to be self-employed 24/7. And I
hmm
didn't want to, everyone wants a business that can run
hmm
without them, but their actions don't map to it. And
hmm
they always come up with an excuse of, oh, I'm not ready yet. And in
hmm
this day and age, it is the easiest time in the history of the world to
hmm
delegate something because you don't need to hire someone for 40 hours.
Right.
You can hire someone for 1 hour a day
hmm
or 1 hour a week
hmm
to do
One
something for
project.
you. Yeah.
hmm hmm
So, if that 1 hour, it's not only what it's quote unquote costing you, but what is the return? What's the
hmm
opportunity cost? And you can build a business that can run
Right.
without you. If
hmm
you get hit by a bus, your family's
hmm
not going to be wondering, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay the bills
hmm
next week? Because
Right.
my husband, my wife,
hmm
my spouse, whoever is the one propping all this up, they don't have disability insurance. What are we going to do? So I'd much rather invest into
hmm
that peace of mind to know I can go on vacation for 10 days.
hmm
Or what if I get the flu? Money is going to continue to come in
hmm
because I've quote unquote taken the risk
Right.
to build that team and invest the money. And funny things happen when you start investing money in people. You actually work harder to get to
hmm
where you want to go because now you're responsibility for the well-being of somebody else. You're like, man,
Right. hmm
I got, I don't want that person to lose their
hmm
job. I really got to pump this stuff
hmm
out. And you want to make sure you get a return on your investment as well.
hmm
So it's kind of, burning the boats per se, but
hmm
once they're burned, then you're like, well, now we got to figure this out. And
hmm
we always do. That's why we're still here in the year 2020 and we haven't gotten eaten by saber-toothed tigers and
hmm
dinosaurs and everything else. Like
Right.
we kind of know how to survive when we have to.
hmm and it's interesting because we do survive when we have to, and for some people it will be, okay, this isn't working. I'm going to go back into corporate wherever. But for many people, they did, they figure out, ooh, this is fun. This is going to work. And freeing up that time, it doesn't have to go back into the business either. We mentioned vacations. Maybe it's just that you have somebody who's answering your phones between a certain period of time so you can go watch your kids play soccer. I mean, whatever it is, that is one of the beauties of being your own boss, your own business owner, is you get to set your own schedule. And I think one of the things that we get caught up in as the small business owner is thinking we have to work 10, 12-hour days, all these various things. Well, part of the reason we left corporate America was to have that freedom. So, if you want to go to watch soccer, go watch soccer.
Yeah. And I think where a lot of business owners get stuck is they don't really have that vision set.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's their vision, I want to leverage,
Mm-hmm.
I want to help me personally. I want to help business owners leverage their business,
Mm-hmm.
all the risks, all the blood, sweat, tears, everything they put into it
Mm-hmm.
to build a life that they love. And if that life is spending more time at soccer games, well, then that has to be part of your vision.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your actions need to map to building a business that's going to empower you and enable you
Mm-hmm.
to go watch your kids soccer game, because your kids are only kids once.
Right.
You can't say, I'm going to get to it tomorrow, because
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow is always the next day. And
Mm-hmm.
when tomorrow comes, you're going to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's where I see a lot of business owners get stuck, is they're doing things. They're really busy, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
really productive, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like going on a road trip and they're just driving in circles day in and day out. Well,
Right.
I'm still driving. Look at me go. But you're not getting closer to your destination. Mm-hmm. So when you have that destination, you have that why, you have that vision, then you need to make sure your activity is actually mapping to that. So you can do whatever you want to do. If it's go start another business, great.
Mm-hmm.
If it's spend more time at soccer games, great.
Mm-hmm.
If it's travel more, whatever it is, you only got one shot at this. So you might as well start doing it today.
Mm-hmm. Right. And as you mentioned, technology is the reason why we're able to do all of this. My virtual assistant, my producer for this program, lives in New Jersey. We communicate all the time. Now, it does help that we're in the same time zone. But we interview people around the world. We adjust the schedule so that they're not being, interviewed at 4:00 in the morning, or I'm not doing this at midnight, because neither one of those is going to be good. But let's talk more about tech. I had a conversation with somebody just yesterday about giving a LinkedIn presentation. It's one I've done for this organization every year for several years. It's a great group. I always go. I'm in person because I'm just so much more delightful in person. And she said, the place where we're going to be is having an issue, and so let's do it as a webinar. And my first thought was, oh, I don't want to do that. They'll lose my delightful personality, right? But then, of course, she points out that so many more people can participate because the space in the room was limited, and people can watch the webinar after. So more people can participate that way. And, for public speakers, that is kind of one of those catches, because we feed on having an audience. But when we can get our message out to so many more people through technology, why wouldn't we do that? I mean, heck, that's why I do this podcast. We can reach people around the world.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I do a podcast as well. It's not like, oh, do I have to get a radio station? Like, and then if I want to interview people, do they have to come to my studio? And then how am I going to get the word out about this? So, even just looking at that transformation of, it hasn't been very long, of whole podcast thing in general, but just leveraging how can you, like you said, you have a virtual assistant, you can jump on Zoom, and most people think virtual assistants, it's someone in the Philippines that's making $2 an hour. And yeah, you can find those people and they're great and they serve their purpose. But if you're uneasy of going that route, like you want to put your toes in the water, then yeah, you could use Zoom. We use Slack to communicate with everything with our teams. And Slack is another free, great piece of technology where you can build a communication platform and really build a good culture with whoever you want to build a culture with. I use it for our mastermind. I use it for our businesses and our employees. And it's just another good platform. So there is so much technology out there where a lot of people don't realize it's just right there at the tip of your fingers, like Zoom. Zoom is free. You can hop on Zoom and have conversations and still build that face-to-face relationship. So, I would encourage anybody out there that isn't so sure of technology or isn't so sure, saying, I wish there was something that did, X, Y, and Z. It might already be there, and it'll give you the peace of mind that you probably want when kind of diving into that aspect.
Right. One of the other, you've got a great list of resources on your website. And it was funny. I was telling you before the program, I was going, oh, use that, use that. Ooh, must check that out. Ooh, use that, use that. And one of the ones that you have listed is a scheduling program. And you actually mentioned Schedule Once, which is what I use. Oh my God. Anybody who schedules, especially things like this, meetings, things like that, that isn't using an online scheduling program of some form or another, they're really missing out. Because how many times do we do well, does Saturday, does Thursday work? No? Okay, Wednesday. Oh, okay. Well, what about one? No, one doesn't work. How about two? And how many emails do we have going back and forth when they could have clicked one button? And that's what scheduling programs do. I have it set on mine so that you have to choose two options. That way, if that just gives a little bit more flexibility. Now, of course, the key is I have to keep my calendar current. That is absolutely critical so that I'm not going back to, I'm sorry, I didn't, But that right there saves so much time because you never just go back and forth with well, what about one? It was, hey, did you see this great article? Or, what'd you see on TV? Or, hey, it's never these short conversations, it gets longer and longer. And then you've wasted hours when you could have just clicked a button to set an appointment.
Yeah, and you can use that for so many things. So if
Mhm.
you're owning a local business, so I'm a partner in a
Mhm.
landscaping business here locally in Raleigh. And
Mhm.
whenever somebody reaches out to us on our
Mhm.
website, they inquire, they get
Mhm.
added to our email list. And then literally the next thing they get
Mhm.
automatically is a link to our calendar for our project
Right.
manager who goes and does all the estimates.
Mhm.
Automatically, boom. And everyone's like, this is amazing. I didn't have to
Mhm.
pick up the phone. I didn't have to trade emails.
Mhm.
We do the same thing when we interview potential
Mhm.
employees. This is when we're available for an interview, or this is
Mhm.
when we're available for a phone interview. And it just, you don't have to, oh, it popped up on our calendar.
Right.
Great. And like you said, yeah, you have to keep your calendar up to date,
Mhm.
which is another great thing that it forces you to do.
Mhm.
So then you can, really
Right.
start to get diligent
Mhm.
on how you use your time. So everything's in my calendar, like date night with my
Mhm.
wife or
Right.
lunch with our daughter
Mhm.
or whatever. Like literally everything's in my
Mhm.
calendar. It's like my life
Mhm.
is a lot easier because of
Right.
that.
Right. And what I love about scheduling programs is they give you different options. You mentioned that you've got an option for interviews, got an option for initial, I'm sure you have people that you go every 4 weeks to, every 6 weeks to, whatever. And so they just choose the appropriate option. It tells them, okay, this is a 45-minute appointment, whatever it is. And so, yeah, there's some initial setup, and every once in a while there's some bugs and things like that come into these programs. But, it really does just simplify your life. And again, free versions, paid versions, and always check out the free versions. I mean, let's be honest, folks, check out those first. But to me, a scheduling program is probably one of the best time savers around, in addition to, as you said, automated emails.
100%. Yeah. And like you said, I think pretty much all of them have a free
Mhm.
version
Mhm.
and you'll probably start to use it and they give you like one option or whatever it
Mhm.
is. But then you're like, I could really use this for another thing. And
Mhm.
when you start paying, it's still very affordable.
Right.
It's, $6 to $10 a
Mhm.
month, whatever it might be. But the amount of time and headache and
Mhm.
stress and annoyance that it saves you
Mhm.
is, you can't really put a price on that.
Mhm. Right. And it's same thing with emails. I mean, there's versions that you pay for. Many anymore are free. And it's only if you're doing that, sending 10,000 out a month, things like that, where it starts to cost more. And let's be honest, you're sending out that much. Well, you probably have people, all these various things that are helping you with all of this. But it's sit down and maybe for an entire week, write down everything you do and then think, okay, could something or someone else have handled this? And then, as you said, go to Google, and just see, invoicing. Great thing. If you've got clients that pay, I have clients that pay the same amount every single month. Okay, automate that. I almost forgot. This is horrible. I should never admit this. I almost forgot to invoice them for December because it was December, and all of these various things. And then I invoiced them on the very last day of the month. I normally invoice in the middle of the month. Um, yes, hello. I can automate that.
For sure. Yeah. So, really looking, it's a perfect example. So the landscaping company that I work with,
Mhm.
they used to literally mail out every invoice, put a
Mhm.
stamp on it, and then wait for the other person to write a check,
And
put it
then
in the mail.
call them.
Yeah. And
Hello.
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So now it's all automated. We can even put them on auto debit. So we
Mhm.
send them all out from a
Right.
platform. The
Mhm.
monthly invoices go out on the 18th of every
Mhm.
month. And then whoever wants to get auto debited gets
Mhm.
charged right away. So there are so many options,
Mhm.
and I think, like you said, writing down everything that you do.
Mhm.
So, kind of going back to where we were, you have your ideal vision. This is what I
Mhm.
want my life to look like. And then you need to do the same thing for your
Mhm.
business. What type of
Right.
business do I want to build
Mhm.
to allow me to, what kind of business do I kind of have to
Mhm.
build to achieve that lifestyle? And then you really start to build kind of an org chart. So what does
Mhm.
my ideal organization look like?
Mm.
Who needs to be in place?
Mhm.
And then taking exactly what you said,
Mhm.
what tasks can those people do? Well, I just wrote down everything that I did. Well, this
Mhm.
could be all the account manager, and this could be, the marketing person. So
Mhm.
now that you got your ideal organization, then you can really start to peel back the onion one at a
Mhm.
time. Oh, I could delegate this to this
Mhm.
person. And you start to slow up time a little bit, looking at the obstacles that's in the way. Okay, I got to get over that, then I can do this. Or, you know, how do I measure success once I start delegating these things?
Mhm.
So it's kind of a step by, it's just like that road trip example. I'm in Raleigh, you're in Atlanta.
Mhm.
Okay, I know where I'm going now. I know I'm going to Atlanta. Well, now I need to know, what do I need to bring? Who needs to
Mhm.
come with me?
Mhm.
Where do I need to stop along the way to know I'm still having
Mhm.
success? If I'm going from Raleigh to Atlanta and all of a sudden I end up like in Memphis or something, it's like, well, I think I'm
Oops.
going the wrong way. Yeah.
Mhm.
So now let's backtrack. Where should
Mhm.
we be? So now
Mhm.
you have those checkpoints, and building a business is the exact same thing. So,
Mhm.
really kind of looking at those key components of your business is very important, obviously, to then start to compartmentalize. Like,
Mhm.
where do you want to spend your time? What do you need to be doing? Who needs to be doing what?
Mhm.
So, and then you really start the action of, document. You said document what you do. Then it's, how do I do that?
Mhm.
And what bucket does that fall in?
Right.
And I kind of look at most businesses. If you just follow the customer
Mhm.
journey, there's basically 5 main systems to your business: lead generation, so you're stirring up interest;
Mhm.
and then sales, you got to convert these people to customers; and then you got to actually deliver the service that you're
Mhm.
doing, so that's the third one; and then you got to provide a good customer service, which is kind of separate from the actual service
Mhm.
you're providing; and then the operations, all the
Mhm.
guts that nobody got in business to do. They got into
Mhm.
business to deliver the actual service.
Mhm.
All those other things is like,
Wait a minute.
wait a
Yeah,
minute,
well, you mean
I
I
didn't
have to
sign
do
up for
that?
this. Yeah.
Mhm.
And all those start to consume you. So if you can compartmentalize it into those 5
Mhm.
things and who should be doing this, it really makes it very easy to visualize, like, okay, now I know how I'm going to get to Atlanta. I got to be
Mhm.
here. I got to be here. I got to be here. I got to stop
Mhm.
here to eat. I got to make sure I got this.
Mhm.
Oh, by the way, I got to pack this,
Mhm.
because, Atlanta's got terrible traffic. So I definitely got to put some snacks in the car, because
Oh,
I'm going
yeah.
to be sitting
Mhm.
on the interstate for a long
Mhm.
time. You can't get off. So then it's like, then it just makes it a lot easier
Mhm.
to 1 mile at a time. Oh, there's
Mhm.
another mile marker. I'm still on track. So
Mhm.
making it a lot easier to do that. But first you need that vision at the top, and
Mhm.
then building out, who do I need in this car? What's my ideal
Mhm.
organization look like, and what should they be doing? And then you just start handing it off one at a time. Like you said, we can delegate an hour a week.
Mhm.
It doesn't need to be,
Right.
if I'm hiring someone for 40 hours, I don't have 40 hours worth of work to give them.
Mhm.
And I don't have 40
Right.
hours to train them. Like, how am I
Right.
going to do that? So
And you don't want to have to pay benefits. Let's be honest, you're not at that level. It's not that we're shirking anything or not wanting to do anything. You just don't need somebody that's working 40 hours a week.
for sure. And that might be your vision. And then you can,
Mhm.
you can paint that vision
Right.
to the people you're hiring to, like, hey,
Mhm.
Deb, really excited to, you're
Mhm.
joining us, but like, we probably only have about 10 hours for you
Mhm.
right now. But ideally,
Mhm.
eventually you're like full-time, you're running the show.
Right.
And now they see your vision, and does your
Mhm.
vision line up with that individual's vision?
Mhm.
If it does, great hire. If not, and they're like, I kind of need 40 hours of
Mhm.
benefits, like, thanks, but no
Mhm.
thanks, good luck. How can I help you, type of deal.
Right.
So yeah, you don't need to just go from 0 to 60,
Mhm.
and then you're going to crash and burn, because
Mhm.
you don't have the, not only do you probably don't have the financial means to, but you don't have the bandwidth to just bring
Mhm.
on somebody for 4 years. You got to walk before you run
Right.
too,
Right.
as a leader,
Mhm.
where a lot of people are like, well, I hired them. They got great experience
Mhm.
and they were terrible. Like, if he
Mhm.
can't do it, nobody can do it. I'm taking this
Mhm.
back. I'm going to do it myself, because
Right.
this is just crazy.
Mhm. Right. And they want to be busy also. I mean, how many times have we had a job where, you weren't always busy? And, okay, sure, that was kind of fun every once in a while to be able to sit and chit chat with your coworkers or, play solitaire on the computer or do whatever. But you don't want to do that all the time. Most of us want to actually be doing something. There are the shirkers of the world who think that's great. But, we don't want to be the employee sitting around doing nothing. So we don't want to have people working for us sitting around doing nothing either.
Yeah. I mean, my very first finance job in Chicago, I was there for like 6 weeks because it was a guy, a husband and wife that owned
Hmm.
the business. And he was kind of a control freak. So he
Hmm.
wanted to do everything. I'm like,
Hmm.
this is the longest 8 hours of my
Hmm.
life. And when I
Right.
put in my notice, they're like, wait, you're leaving? But
Hmm.
why? It's like, well, because you're not even allowing me to do
Hmm.
what you hired me to do
Right.
because you aren't willing to give up
Hmm.
control. So it's like, you know, I'm out of here. So yeah,
Hmm.
like when you hire those people, they want to be busy too. They want to feel like they're a part of
Right.
something, that they're helping you build something,
Hmm.
and not like, why am I sitting here? Like, yeah, that's
Hmm.
great for like a couple days, but then eventually it's like, this is
Right.
not for me. I got to go
Hmm.
find something where I feel like
Hmm.
I'm
Right.
fulfilling my purpose in
Hmm.
life.
Right. And I want to emphasize this again, and that's that, you can hire somebody that does an hour a week, that does one project for you. A lot of us now, I'm a lot older than you. So, we're kind of that old school where we think, okay, we have to hire someone full time, but we don't. There are so many other options. Virtual assistants, whoever, and it's kind of like they just appeared, and it's kind of, whoever invented that and Velcro needs to get very wealthy. But, you can, and again, it might be somebody that's in your neighborhood, might be somebody that's halfway around the world. It all depends on what you need them for. But it's great to be able to hire someone, that you just need for a short period of time. And then there's virtual assistant businesses. So, you might be working with a different person there every time, but if it's an automated project or something, really doesn't matter if the same person does it every time. Or you might have someone like, say, my producer, where she does 2 to 3 hours a week, every single week. We've got a, great relationship. If she'll let me know, this is a project that's going to take more time. So then I know, okay, I'm going to have to pay her more. And so, it's great to build that rapport with that one person. But yeah, if you just need somebody for 1 hour a week, you can get somebody for 1 hour a week.
Yeah, and 100%. And it might be even your employees. So like if you, like we have a landscaping company, we
Hmm.
have guys out in the field delivering the
Hmm.
service. Reach out to them first and say,
Right.
hey, we got an hour's, we do a lot of like mailers
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
different types of marketing stuff. And we actually use those guys
Hmm.
to help us, whether it's
Right.
stuffing envelopes, hanging
Hmm.
stuff on doors,
Hmm.
getting yard signs together, or just working in the office for a
Hmm.
couple hours to free up some of our time. So they might be literally right in front of you. You just have to ask them
Hmm.
like, hey, do you want to pick up a couple hours here and there? Or what, building those
Right.
relationships, that was every business that I've had. That's who I went to first. So like we
Hmm.
had to mail out all our Christmas cards. And I asked my wife, I said, do you want to hand address all these envelopes? She said, no, pay
No.
somebody to do it.
Hmm.
So I literally just went into Slack,
Hmm.
posted, this is for a dog walking
Hmm.
business that we have, went into Slack, said, hey, who wants to make $50 to address 100 envelopes?
Hmm.
And they're like, me. I was like,
Oh yeah.
done.
Hmm.
And then the lady I delegated to, not only did she do it quicker than I could,
Hmm.
she writes way better than I can.
Uh-huh.
But then,
Hmm.
but then she said, do you want me to go buy stamps and mail these for you? I'm like,
Right. Do you want me to
sure.
finish it? Hmm. Hmm.
So it could be something as easy as that. That
Hmm.
freed up, 100 envelopes. Maybe it
Hmm.
takes you 2 minutes an envelope. So that's 200 minutes. It
Hmm.
freed up 3 or 4 hours
Right.
of my time.
Hmm.
And it cost me, if you do $50 divided by 4, it cost me $12.50. I know I can, even if I can't go make more than that,
Hmm.
4 hours to me
Hmm.
to go spend with my daughter is way
Right.
more worth. It's way more
Hmm.
valuable than
Hmm.
$12.50. So there might be other things in your life.
Hmm.
So that just brings up, I'm in my home right now,
Hmm.
and the cleaning people who come clean our
Hmm.
house every 2 weeks were just here,
Right.
and we pay them $140 to clean our house.
Hmm.
It takes them, they bring in 4 people. They're
Hmm.
in and out in like 2 hours. So say it takes them 8 hours.
Hmm.
It's going to take me and my wife like the whole weekend because
Right.
we have a
And you're
daughter
going to hate it.
and we're going to hate it.
Hmm.
So I rather pay
Hmm.
$280 a month to have like 2 full
Hmm.
weekends back of my
Right.
life. So things you can automate and delegate might not even be in your business. It could be in your personal life where, so,
Mhm.
and they did a way better job. So it's
Mhm.
like, they have all the gadgets that we don't
Mhm.
have and that we don't want to buy. So
Mhm.
there could be so many things that you could
Mhm.
delegate that you probably don't even think of
Right.
because it might not even be in your business. So
Mhm.
how much is your time worth? I rather have a weekend with my
Mhm.
family than me and my wife like fighting over trying to clean the house while our
Mhm.
daughter's sleeping, and then our daughter's we're cleaning and she's behind us just
Mhm.
making a mess again. So it's
Yeah,
like
she's going
we're just
or
playing.
saying, "Somebody please pay attention to me." Mhm.
Yes, exactly. So I
Mhm.
rather pay attention to her and
Mhm.
go have fun instead of, clean my house all weekend.
Right.
So really just encourage the listeners to
Mhm.
really evaluate everywhere. Where do
Mhm.
you spend time, and do you
Mhm.
really want to be spending time doing that?
Right. And some of those things, yeah, are, maybe even all of them, we thought of as luxuries and for, other people. And what do you mean you can't clean your own house? For a couple years now, we have hired a housekeeper for my mother. She goes every 2 weeks. She does, a lot of the stuff that, yes, my mother could still do, but why? We're able to have someone go in and help her do that and take care of those things. And, and as you said, why not have it for yourself? My husband and I are having this discussion about landscaping, and because he's still at the, I like doing this point, but it's almost at the, oh God, I hate this point. So when we hit that point, I'm sure he'll just hire that, because we have somebody that comes and, does our some of this stuff, but we don't have anybody that comes and mows because he enjoys that. Well, he's about to reach that I don't like this stage. And, and it's not, well, look at you, you have some, no, it's, it's just something. I mean, we don't, for most people, we don't do our own oil changes. There are some people who, yeah, they do. We don't, we there are many things that we have our own doctors, all of those various things. So yeah, think of other things that you can do. I mean, if it's somebody coming in and cleaning your house every 2 weeks just to free you up to do something else, it may very well be worth that little expense.
Yeah, because really it's really just an investment. So
Hmm.
it's you're exchanging money for time, and then what do
Right.
you do with that time? And I
Hmm.
think the key is to have a plan. So I see a
Hmm.
lot of business owners, they'll hire something and they'll delegate it,
Hmm.
but then they don't have a plan to do with their
Right.
newfound time.
Yeah.
So then they just go back and get in the way of the other
Hmm.
person and they micromanage it, and then
Uh-huh.
it's a hot mess. So you need to have a plan with that time. You might hire a cleaning lady just so you can work on your business for
Hmm.
10 hours every 2 weeks. So you can document systems and processes or go train somebody or whatever it is. But time is our most valuable asset.
Hmm.
We all have the exact same amount of it. How you spend it is going to determine your success.
Right.
So, that's really what I encourage everybody to do, is just
Hmm.
kind of a self audit of how do I spend all
Right.
my time? And then
Right.
you might realize you have more time than you think.
Hmm. You know, um, uh, but then it comes to the, okay, how do I actually get started? Is there an easy way to think about all this, and to start? I mean, yes, we can say just get started, but, even sitting and thinking about it can, it's like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start because I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, and that's where most people get stuck. It's like I don't even know how to get started, so I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to
Hmm.
keep the ship afloat. I'm going to keep driving
Right.
until what though? So I would just kind of go back to our conversation a little bit. First,
Mhm.
you need to know where you're going. So you need to
Okay.
have that vision. Really write down, visualize what your vision looks like.
Hmm.
What does your ideal life look like, and what kind of business do you need to build in order
Hmm.
to achieve that? And get really specific on, okay, we need to be doing $1 million because that means I have enough money to pay all these people,
Hmm.
and I can make the money I want and need to go do what I want to
Hmm.
do while also being able to pay everybody and have a business, blah, blah, blah. So you got your vision. That's step one. Second step is mapping out your ideal organization, like literally drawing an org chart of your future business. And don't do it based on, people. Do it based on kind of the workload. So it's not,
Hmm.
oh, this guy's going to go here. Oh, future Joe's going to go there. Just kind of start to compartmentalize everything. Okay, we're going to need an account manager. We're going to need a marketing person. We'll need an office manager, whatever it is. So you got that mapped out based on kind of the workload and task, not necessarily the people. And then you want to start making time to actually work on your business. And what I
Hmm.
mean by work on your business is kind of what you said. How do I get started? So what I, after I would even go back and say evaluate how you spend your time and start time blocking and calendar, all that. But that's a huge thing to wrap your head around. But really start focusing on literally write down everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do in your business? And I like to do what I call as a delegation snowball. So this is kind of the actionable advice of you've got your vision, you know where you're going, you got your ideal organization. This is what we're going to build to get there. And then you start doing a delegation snowball. So get out a spreadsheet, get out a scrap piece of paper, whatever it is, write down everything that you do. And then what system does that fall in? Back to what we talked about, lead generation, sales, customer service, the actual service you provide, or operations. So it's going to be one of those 5 buckets. What bucket does it fall in? Who's doing it now? Who should be doing it? How long does it take? How often does it need to be done? You're really writing out basically everything that happens in your business. And then you just start doing it. And this is the just start part. So the thing that I like to think of is perfect. So PDAD, perfect, document, automate, or delegate. And perfect just means, it doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't mean wait till it's perfect, because it's never going to be perfect.
Right.
It just means do it the same way more than once so somebody else could do it. Okay, this is how I set it. This is how I start a Zoom call. You do it. You do it. You do it. And then you document how it's done. So it's the easiest time in the history of the world to document how things are done. If it's a computer task, you use a screen recording software like Zoom.
You poke a button.
You poke a button, you start talking, you say, okay, Deb, this is how you do this. You go down to the start menu, you click here, and you're walking them through this, and it's recording in the background. And these are free tools. Zoom is great. Loom is great. If it is an in-person task, we have a really powerful camera that fits in our pocket. And you say, okay, this is how we trim this type of shrub in Raleigh, North Carolina, and you hit record and they're doing it. Okay, so now you've got the how, and then you either start automating it, so giving it to a piece of technology perhaps, or delegating, give it to somebody. So that's really kind of, in 4 or 5 steps, define your vision, where are we going, then define what type of business you need to build. That's kind of your org chart. Then you do the delegation snowball, and then you start delegating it. Right. And who do you delegate it to? Like you said, if it's an hour a week, you could find a virtual assistant. You could find somebody on your staff. You could find a teenager who lives in your neighborhood, or maybe a teenager who lives in your house.
Right.
Because whatever you do is not rocket science. If it was, you'd be making a lot more money, like brain surgeons make or like rocket scientists make, but you're not. So you're not that special. Get over it. Get over the mental hurdle, and you will be okay. So that's really where I see most people get stuck, is kind of that mental hurdle of nobody can do it. It's my baby. Right. I'm the best. If anybody else can do it 80% as good as you can, delegate it, because the customer doesn't care.
Right. And figure out, okay, for that 20%, is it necessary? If it is, okay, what do we need to change to make sure that, that happens, all those various things.
Yeah. And really, if it's not, it's because you didn't do something. So maybe you didn't articulate something in the recording, because you can document anything and they'll do it the exact same way that you do it. So I like to equate it to Chick-fil-A. You're in Atlanta, I'm in Raleigh. Chick-fil-A does this better than anybody. They can hire people for basically minimum wage who deliver a better service than any restaurant I've been to, and they sell $5 chicken, but they don't hire the best chicken cooker. They don't hire the best fry cutter. They don't hire, the best sauce maker. All they do is hire the best people, because they've documented how to do everything else. Right. So you can start hiring for personality and training for the job. That's when you really start to win. A lot of business owners hire for talent because they don't have the systems and processes. And they go hire the best chicken cooker, and he is a jerk. Nobody wants to work with him. Right. And it doesn't matter that he's really good at cooking chicken, because nobody wants to work with him. Whereas if you teach people how to cook chicken, then you can hire really awesome people and start to develop kind of a really strong team, because they don't have to worry about how to cook the chicken. If you go back to any job that you really hated, it's because you had to figure stuff out on your own and nobody was there to help you. So then you do it, and then your boss yells at you because you did it wrong, because you should have known how to cook the chicken. Right,
right. And that comes back to what you were saying before, customer service. You could almost deal with chicken that wasn't absolutely perfect, but if the most fabulous person in the world served it to you, okay. Now, it needs to be cooked. I mean, we're not talking about you're getting raw food and stuff like that. But, even, say you get the wrong thing, right? You've gone through the drive-through, they were pleasant. They did that. My pleasure. It's my pleasure to serve
Of
you
course.
because it is Chick-fil-A. And how was your day? All those various things. You get home, you open the bag. I got the wrong thing. Oh, okay. and, but yeah, of course, the good thing about having great customer service is that's what people really talk about. That's why they come back to you. That is, yes, you still have to have a good product or service. We're not saying that. But when the customer service experience is fabulous, that's where we really have to focus on. As you said, that chicken could be cooked by the meanest, nastiest person in the world, and we're never going back. Doesn't matter that it was the best chicken you've ever had. So it is kind of that combination. Good product, good service, and good customer support.
100%. And if you realize that whatever you're selling, whatever your business sells, it's a commodity because we can get it anywhere. I can go get chicken from like probably 15 different places within 5 miles of my house.
Right.
But I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A because of the customer experience, because how they make me feel, how they actually show that they care. All those things. It's not like Chick-fil-A selling something that nobody else is selling. They're just selling a piece of chicken. And, I could find 100 people to cut my grass within 30 minutes. Like the supply of the service that you provide is endless. How you deliver is going to set you apart.
I hate to break it to you folks. What you do is not unique. I don't care what you
Exactly.
do. It's not you. Now, it might be a little harder to find, a little more specialized, but there's somebody else out there that does something pretty gosh darn similar.
And what's really hard to find is just a really good customer experience. And it's so easy to deliver if you have the systems and processes and team in place.
Right. And one of the things that you mentioned that we're not going to have really time to discuss, but it is time, it's how much time does it take you to do these things? One of the things that I sat down and did several years ago was looked at my networking. I love networking. Hello, I'm pretty social. I like going and seeing people, right? You haven't figured that out. And so I like going to networking events. But when I figured out how much time I was spending just driving to the events, it was like, okay, not worth it. Now if it was worth it, that's different. But it just wasn't worth it. And so that was when it was like, okay, what can we do to replace it? Because you still need to network. Yeah. Hello, that is how you get business. But could you do it online? Could you do it a different group? Could you do it with something like what you offer as a mastermind group? So be rethinking these things too, is, the time that it takes, is it worth that time?
Yeah. And that's, to kind of hit on both points. So the time to create these systems process is almost nothing because you can record it the next time you do it. So it's not like, I remember my first corporate job, I sat next to somebody all day with my pen and paper, feverishly taking notes. Okay, this is what I'm supposed to do tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and you're like, I don't remember how to do that. But I know Deb told me. So I'm going to try and figure this out. And then
because you don't want to go back and say, I didn't write that down.
So, that's the great thing about technology, the phone, the screen recording software, all that. You can do it, at the same time you're doing it. So it doesn't really cost you any time. And then to your point on the networking and everything else, really evaluate how much time you're spending and what return are you getting on it? Because you only got one life. You only got 168 hours in the week. And that's the reason I don't go networking, is basically what you described. So if I have a 12 o'clock networking event, I'm going to leave my house at like 11. I'm going to get there. I'm going to, schmooze, blah, blah, blah. The networking event goes to 1. And then everyone has their little one-on-ones and they talk and they set up coffee, blah, blah, blah. And then you get home probably 2:30, and then you got to go through and follow up.
Somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
You ran a quick errand, so it's maybe
you're already there. So yeah, you get home at 3, and then you got to follow up with everybody and go through the business cards. So it's like, that was a 4 to 5 hour event that took an hour. So is it worth your time? And maybe it is. And maybe that's your business model. That's great. But I want you to always be evaluating where are you spending your time. And like you said, with the mastermind that I run, when people are financially invested, their number one goal is to get a return on investment. So it's like, let's get to the point and let's get everybody a return on this. Whereas when you go to networking events, sometimes it's like a lot of people go just to make themselves feel like they did something that day.
Yeah. Or to tell their boss, oh yeah, I attended that event.
Yes. So
well, Paul, tell us more about your mastermind group. And I'm a big supporter of masterminds, especially for small business owners who are thinking, I am out here in an oasis all by myself. So, tell us more about your mastermind group.
Yeah, I mean, that's really why I started it. So,
Mhm.
one, like I said at the beginning, most small businesses won't be able to survive without the owner for more than a week.
Mhm.
If you're gone from your business more than a week, your business probably isn't going to be there. So, through my Ultimate Freedom Mastermind, that's what I really focus on, is helping business owners build a
Mhm.
business that can thrive without them so they can make more money and have
Mhm.
more time. Now, the really powerful part of it is a group setting. So there's a maximum of 10 people in your mastermind.
Mhm.
And what a lot of people equate it to is going to a party where you actually have something to talk about.
Right.
Because a lot of times we go to a party and they're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I do this. Like, oh, did you see the football game yesterday?
Mhm.
Like, you have
Mhm.
nothing to talk about. So it's putting
Right.
yourself in a room
Mhm.
with like-minded individuals who
Mhm.
have big goals, big dreams, big aspirations, and then they're there to hold you accountable.
Mhm.
So if I say, I'm going to go do this by next week, and everyone does that,
Mhm.
you don't want to be the only person out of 10 that didn't go do it. So
Right. It's
the
kind of like going
accountability
to the
is,
book club and you didn't read the book.
yeah, don't be that person.
Mhm.
We can call out your BS that
Mhm.
you didn't do exactly what you
Mhm.
said you're going to do. So having the accountability and then really sharing expertise
Mhm.
amongst people, because we all have different experiences. We all have different expertise. And when you get 10 different business owners in the room with 10 different industries and 10 different, viewpoints, it really is a powerful thing. And then obviously I'm kind of leading the way
Mhm.
with all of my online training that teaches people exactly step by step, kind of how we walk through it,
Mhm.
how to systematize and automate your business so it can thrive without you.
Mhm. Now, does the mastermind, do they have to be in person or can they be virtual like we're doing here?
And that's a great question. So I just assume these things now because everything is virtual. So yes, you can be anywhere
Mhm.
in the world. All of our people so
Mhm.
far in the US, but you can be anywhere in the world. We meet weekly on Zoom, same time, same
Mhm.
place, every single week to really have that block on your
Mhm.
calendar so it's not bouncing all over the place.
Right.
So I'm in Raleigh. Obviously, we have some people in Raleigh from my network, but we have people, New York, Arizona, and everywhere in between.
Mhm. Right. Now, one of the things that people always say about a mastermind is, but I don't want to share that I screwed up. Or what if my competitor is there?
Yeah. So the first part, that's when the magic really happens, is
Mhm.
when you are vulnerable and say, I
Mhm.
did screw up, because you're only fooling yourself. If you screwed up and you're not going to share with anybody and you're not willing to look for help.
Right. And they may have done the same thing.
And that's the thing, is you can get to where
Mhm.
you want to go so much quicker when you learn from other people's mistakes.
Mhm.
So, that's really, one of the most powerful things about it is show up. The more as you build these relationships with these people, you really start to open up and be more vulnerable.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, that I actually didn't do that, or it didn't work out
Mhm.
as well as I said it was, and all on and on and on. So that's really the power of it, is there is no trophy for going it alone. Like,
Mhm.
yes, we're entrepreneurs and we should be able to figure it out on our own, but there is no trophy. Like, you don't get to
Right.
the end like, Deb, you didn't need anybody's help. You made a lot more money and you got a lot more freedom. No, like, it's actually the
Oh.
opposite. Then you're all by yourself.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
really going on that journey with other people makes it a lot more fun too,
Mhm.
because you can share in the wins, you can go on
Mhm.
the journey together, and you can get to where you want to go a lot
Mhm.
quicker while having a lot more fun.
Mhm. Well, oh my gosh, Paul, this has been so much fun, and we definitely have to do this again. And hopefully we can like meet in person sometime because we're not that far apart. But in the meantime, tell us how people find and connect with you online.
So yeah, you can just go to my website, paulmaskill.com. If you look for me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you can find me there. If you are interested in the mastermind, just go to paulmaskill.com/mastermind. You can fill out an application. Probably takes you 2 minutes. Then we'll schedule a call through my scheduler. And then we'll get you rocking and rolling, enrolled in the mastermind.
Perfect. I love it. Well, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
So I would just go back to the very top when I said the worst case scenario is never as bad as you think it's going to be. And it is so true, because if you think about those times when you just kind of had to do it and, bite the bullet,
Mhm.
then you're like, that really wasn't that bad.
Mhm.
It never is. So don't be the person getting in the way of your success.
Perfect. I love it. Well, this really has been wonderful. And I think, good information to start the year off with, kind of, some New Year's resolution types of things that were in here. And I can't wait to have you on again. I think this is definitely a conversation that we need to continue. So until then, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a great time talking with Paul Maskill, and everyone have a great day.
Thanks, Deb.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.